Good morning, Veronica. Lovely to see you today. And
Good morning, Parul. How are
good
you?
morning. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. I'm really excited this morning to be joining you. It's an honor. Thank you very much for the privilege of joining you for an interview in this capacity today. I'm well, thank you.
Thank you for your time. To our audience, this is Parul Begum, life and leadership coach. Based on confidence, we've been focusing quite a lot on self-confidence. So this is one of our regular episode. Today we have a special guest, Veronica Simpson. Veronica's specialty is domestic violence. So today we'll be talking about why self-confidence is really important when dealing with domestic violence or adverse experiences. So I'll be asking a lot of questions to Veronica, and hope you enjoy the video, and please feel free to like, share with others who might find the information helpful. So coming back to you, Veronica, thank you for your time. So what will be really good, Veronica, is instead of me introducing you, it'll be good to hear from you. If you introduce yourself, if you want to tell your story, feel free, who you are and what you do.
Okay, so my name is Veronica Simpson, and I have an organization. I'm the CEO and founder of Back in Control Consultancy. We specialize in domestic and sexual abuse, sexual violence. And what we do, we offer support and advocacy. We have a helpline, support line. We also offer domestic abuse awareness training, and that can be for absolutely anybody at all. However, we specialize in supporting faith communities, so people of faith, because people tend to think that if you have a faith, if you're religious and we have religious practices, then we're exempt, but that isn't the case. Domestic abuse affects absolutely anybody, regardless of their faith, regardless of the ethnicity, the class, race, sexuality. No one is exempt.
Absolutely.
Everybody can be exposed to domestic abuse and domestic violence. So that's what we do. I'm very passionate about what we do. And whenever we get the opportunity to deliver training or support, we're there. So yeah, that's.
Well, thanks, Veronica. Thanks for introducing. You do quite a lot. Now, absolutely what you said is domestic violence, abuse, anything. It doesn't have a color, doesn't have a race, doesn't have a religion. Nothing is an issue that we have to deal with. So thanks for your introduction. Can I ask you, what was your reason to get into this kind of work to support people and support organizations?
Yeah, so I had no, to be fair and completely transparent, I did not ever think to myself, I want to go into the DV sector. It just wasn't something I was thinking about. However, in terms of my previous work experience, I worked for Network Rail for 10 years, but in my spare time, I should say, which wasn't a lot, but in my spare time, I started volunteering for the Youth Justice Service. And then I became a sessional worker, and I was offering parenting support. So delivering training to parents who were experiencing challenging behavior from their young person. And then somebody recommended me for a role and in DV, and the rest is history. I'm here today. But also in that, I did not realize what domestic abuse was until I started working in the sector. I didn't understand or couldn't differentiate the difference between a healthy relationship and an unhealthy relationship. What makes a relationship abusive? How can you define that? How do you know? Because a lot of people, Parul, are in abusive relationships and they do not recognize it as abuse, and then they normalize it, and they become accustomed. This is my lot. This is how it is, and they live in that, within that experience, which isn't a healthy experience. It's a very negative place to be. So I'm really grateful that I'm able to offer understanding and awareness around domestic abuse so that people have more insight. You do not have to be subjected to certain behaviors regardless of your color, your ethnicity, all the things that we said before, and definitely not because of your faith as well, that you shouldn't have to suffer domestic abuse. So we're putting the spotlight on domestic abuse and domestic violence, so those that do need help can get the help that they need, but also within that, to ensure that people that have a responsibility or are in positions of trust, and that they are also equipped to be able to support the people that they support. So for example, within the faith community, it might be the imam, it might be the priest, it might be the pastor, whoever that is, we're offering that support to them, that training to them, to ensure that they talk about it. Because Parul, come on, domestic abuse is a taboo subject. And in this day and age, we don't believe that there should be such thing as taboo subjects. Yes, when we were growing up, there were certain things our parents would not talk to us about. But you can't do that with the young people today. We have to talk about everything because of these things. Because of these things, they're going to be exposed to absolutely everything. So we need to be equipped in order to be able to have these conversations and feel comfortable having these conversations and saying, well, this isn't healthy. If this is what you're experiencing, if this is what you're putting your spouse through, this is how you're mistreating your spouse, then there's another way. There's another way. So it's about educating people. So, if they did not have that particular tool or understanding or experience when they were growing up, that they can change. They can change, or they can escape.
Absolutely, Veronica. You mentioned quite a lot of points. I think final point is education. Definitely education, awareness comes in. And I think traditionally, as I said, domestic violence, people used to think physical violence, and not emotional. The emotional trauma, it lives with people, or how people get emotionally drained. The behavior is far more reaching than just having a hit. So everything is equally important. And I think that's where the education comes in. The people don't look for signs, especially on relationship or young relationship even. Young people get taken advantage by their partners, or potential boyfriend, and become abusive, narcissistic behavior become very common with relationships. I think definitely what you mentioned about education, awareness raising in all settings is really important. Absolutely. Whether they go to faith group, school, college, university, anywhere really. It's so important. So thanks for mentioning that. So as I said, our focus on self-confidence, what we do is raising awareness and raising self-confidence so people can deal with it when it comes to them not relying on somebody else to deal with their problem, but they're able to stand up and deal with the situation or see it. So what do you think, why do you think self-confidence is essential for people's life, especially how that would help on domestic violence situation?
I think first of all, Parul, that you have to look up the definition. What is self-confidence? What is self-esteem? And then by that, you can then measure where you are. Do I feel self-confident? How am I feeling? You need to do that evaluation, because if you're not in the position to do that evaluation, then you're not ready for change. Because change comes when you become aware of something. So you first have to be aware of your confidence level. Am I actually doing the things that I want to do in life? Am I achieving the things that I want to do? Am I achieving, carrying out, following through on my own dreams and aspirations? And if not, then why not? So when you first have done that evaluation, then you can then put a plan in place. You can set goals. you can seek help. So I think, first of all, Harold, I'm sure you agree, you have to, recognize where you are and what it is that you want to achieve.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah.
And I think, it's easy to kind of walk around and have tunnel vision in life. But regardless of where you are, there is always going to be light. There's always going to be a light. And when you keep focusing on that light, then you will be drawn to that light from darkness, because sometimes we're in a dark place.
Yeah.
And that's when our self-confidence and self-esteem may be quite low. But there's help and support that you can get in order to be able to move forward. And I think in terms of that, we're talking about education again. And it's something that I've been really zoning in on recently, and that is emotional intelligence. I think that's very, very important, and we should be taught what is emotional intelligence. How can we manage our emotions? Because our emotions can actually cripple us and paralyze us from doing certain things. But how do we manage our emotions? How do we find our equilibrium? How do we actually find that balance in order to not feel like you're drowning, but able to sustain and be resilient in life? Because things will happen that will knock us, but we need to find a way of being resilient and being able to overcome that. And I think being taught from a very young age about how to manage our emotions, being emotionally intelligent, is something that, it needs to be rolled out in the schools. It needs to be just rolled out so that people can manage their emotions more effectively. And when I say that, I believe that it should be for both genders, for both men and for women, because let's face it, if boys were taught how to manage their emotions more, maybe domestic abuse would decline, because they'd be better able to manage their emotions more effectively. And make them more confidence in themselves. Because when you think about domestic abuse and domestic violence, it's very much about power and control. Why do you need that power and control over another person? But if you can manage your emotions, those feelings that you feel that makes you feel insecure, inadequate, then maybe there would be less problems in the world. And communication as well, falls within that. Effective communication.
Absolutely. Well, thanks, Veronica. You mentioned quite a lot of points. I just want to pick up two things, really. You talked about tunnel vision, and I think that's something a lot of people focus on, but what people forget that there is as you mentioned, always a light in the other end. Yeah. And if you want to get to the other end, you just focus on the light and you will get there. But, and therefore you have to develop the self-confidence and evaluate where you want to go, how you're going to go there, and keep focusing on that. And when you're focusing, you reach there. The other thing you talk about education, yes, I think that's something we constantly talk about, education, because gender. I think lots of gender-based violence on the whole, whether it's physical, emotional, the power always comes in. And if you look at when you look at every aspect of every situation, whether it's a country fighting for something, people fighting for resources, this is always power issue comes in. And same in relationship, the whole power actually takes over, and boys or men, sometimes their power is controlling. We want to control, therefore, we're going to use our power. And education comes in because I think, even in UK, our PHE, our relationship education should be more improved. All they teach is about sex education, really, not about loving, caring, and dealing with emotion is so important, because children are not taught to how to deal with emotion. And boys sometimes end up physically violent because that's how they express. But if that get taught from nursery, boys and girls both equally, education is equally important for both genders. Why should one get more information about how to look after themselves and other one not? Victim and perpetrator both need same education. So they, you know, if you're just working with victim, but not the person who is abusing, how they gonna learn? So, you know, you raised a really important point of education, and I think you raised it second time, which is really good. That's what we need. We need to focus on education. So thank you for the answer.
That's okay. And I think in that, we need to be focusing, I think those that we have role models. We all have role models. We all have people that we aspire and that inspire us, and those that we may want to emulate as well, because we think, wow, there's something about that individual that I really, really like, and I would like to emulate that person. And I think that there are some great role models available to us within our families, within our community, within society. And I think that we should offer this to those that need that kind of moral support and to be mentored. What do I mean by that? What I'm saying is that if we see a young person that is struggling and we know that they need support, they need guidance, we should be able to offer them that guidance and support and that time. Just time. Investing time in a young person is going to be so invaluable later on for that young person, because we all come from different walks of life. And if we are not equipped, they say bend the tree when it's young. So that's the time when young people are very impressionable, and that's the time when we need to invest in our young people in order to train them up in the way that they should go. So I say that to say I have this thing in my head at the moment that is saying that we need to have schools where women teach girls, young ladies, to be women and men to be gentlemen, because they're not always going to get that education at home. How much, and I just think it's a non-brainer. It's something that people should be doing anyway, teaching girls to be girls. Because I say that, Parul, sometimes when you listen, you're on the bus or you're walking down the road, or, school children are walking past your home, and you hear the conversation, you hear the way that they communicate with each other, and you're literally like cringing, because you think, oh my gosh, the use of words can be so powerful, but also they can destroy somebody as well. And also reduce somebody's self-confidence and their self-esteem. Because if somebody's always speaking to you and they're not valuing you and they're not showing you respect, how do you rise from that? Unless somebody says, well, no, you should not allow your peers to speak to you like that. You should tell your peers, show them a different way of being able to communicate with you that is more respectful and helps you to retain your value in terms of who you are. Because as we become adults, we tell people, don't we? Somebody speaks to us disrespectfully, we'll say to them, excuse me, are you talking to me? For example, or you've got the choice of ignoring them. So I think it's going back to basics. When we're children, our parents raised us and they tell us, you need to have manners. You say, yes, please, thank you. But we also need to go back to basics and teach how, just normal etiquette. Etiquette is beautiful. It's such a wonderful thing to have. We should have masterclasses in terms of, just basic etiquette, how to effective, respectful communication with each other. Emotional intelligence is so important. It will reduce so much conflict in life if we think about boundaries and that values, just what are our personal values. And then when we know what our personal values are, then we will then treat people equally. There's that saying, treat people in the way that you want to be treated. I know how I want to be treated. And I know that when I communicate with other individuals, I'm going to communicate with them in the same way that I want them to communicate with me. You can get my time. you can get my attention. And if it's not saying that, you know, well, that's just my measuring tool, and that helps me to keep my self-confidence. It helps me to kind of protect my space as well. And I think that, yeah, if you haven't got it, then we need to teach it.
Absolutely. Now that's great point, Veronica. Yeah, I think one of the points you raised, you know, teaching young people from young age, you know, is so essential. And I think, you know, working in social care from early age, what I've seen is we were putting plaster on the wound. So if you raise, you know, the education start at home, goes to school or places the children goes. But, you know, if you start communicating and being open and transparent, teaching them life skill from young age, they don't end up doing things they're not supposed to do. And, you know, I think that's another reason for me actually quitting my job in social care. I just thought all we were doing, putting plaster on the wound. We should be teaching people from the early age so that boys and girls learn to be boys and girls and not try to be on each other. And one of the trends sometimes is saying, yes, you know, like you have to be assertive, but you don't have to be a boy to get the job that you deserve. Or, you know, you should be able to get the job because your skill set, not because you act like a boy or talk like a man. I know there's lots of discrimination going on in our side world, but I think sometimes girls try to be boy, and that's another problem. You know, and it's because they feel they've been forced to act like that. As you said, you know, buses, and when you go out or sometimes you see boys and girls behaving like each other, or sometimes girls feel pressurized that they have to behave like a boy in order to fit into the society, or they don't have to be. You know, yes, we need to be, we need to have the etiquette, and boys need to learn to be gentlemen, not always, you know, like, and when there's a mutual respect, mutual love, mutual understanding, then all this problem we're having will not have. So it is, you know, both education, both sides are really important. So that's great point, Veronica, what you just mentioned. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think also in that, you know, just embrace your uniqueness. We're all
Yeah.
unique. We're
Yeah.
not a duplication of each other, and we
Yeah.
should be able to embrace it,
Yeah.
and, you know, just walk in it. Walk
Yeah.
in it, you know, whoever
Yeah.
you are, whoever God created you to be, just walk in that
Yeah.
and be confident in who you are. Unfortunately, though, Parul, we know that the knocks of life does not allow people to, doesn't, you know, like the in terms of life's journey, sometimes it's not very straight. We know that there are mountains, there are valleys, there's bumps in the road, and sometimes it's more difficult. Some bumps in the road or valleys are more difficult than others to rise from. But I think that, you know, no one's an island, no one should be an island, and that your first step should be trying to get help. So I always say that we should be familiar with the resources within our communities, especially if we are maybe a faith leader or, you know, depending on our role, but we should also always be aware of what the resources are within our communities, so that people that are around us, people that we have the privilege of educating, or in whatever capacity, that we can say to them, here's our directory of all the resources that are available. If you need help, these are the numbers that you can contact to get help. You're never on your own. And in terms of domestic abuse, we try to ensure that, you know, what we can't do, we work in partnership with other agencies to ensure that we can offer them a holistic service, because we know where we start and we know where we end. But however, we know that there's an extension to our arms, that we can reach out to other organizations that can help them along that journey for positive outcomes. So it's about reaching out, getting the help that you need. You're not on your own, you're not an island, and there are many agencies out there that are willing to help. And in terms of that, we also offering, which is something quite new, Parul, that we're also offering mentoring as well. So we're looking for mentees, 5 mentees that we want to help, especially for those that may even, it depends on the capacity. So it's kind of going to be a bespoke program that we're offering, and that could be within maybe business startup, or it could be that you just need help in terms of the next steps after domestic abuse and moving forward, whether that be in training and education, but just trying to help people along the way, along life's journey. Yeah.
Thank you. That really nicely lead me into our next question is, what kind of support is available for women who face domestic violence or who's been through one and now trying to rebuild their life? What you offer and where else they can go information from or they can get
So I
support
think
from?
it all depends. I don't know in terms of your reach, in terms of your network, Parul. But
Mm.
what I would say that again, go to Google, go to your local authority website, go to the .gov website, and you will be able to find out about the resources that are available to you in your community. There are some free services that are available to you. So depending on where you are, you know, do that research for yourself. Google is a fantastic search engine that will come up with multiple choices for you to tap into. So it also depends on what area you have a need, will determine what you're going to put into Google. So if it was, for example, counseling, mental health, you have to be quite specific to find out, you know, what sort of services are available to you. In terms of Back in Control Consultancy, you can again Google Back in Control consultancy.com, and then within that you'll be able to see all the different services that we offer, and you'll also find an information page that will provide you with the National Domestic Violence Helpline number for male victims, for perpetrators of abuse, for young people. You'll find a whole resources. You'll find some resources that are available to you that you can tap into. We also, I think I mentioned it right at the beginning of the interview, we have a helpline number that's open 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. and you can call that helpline number, and we'll just steer you in the right direction in terms of if you have an inquiry. You know, we do try to just go that extra mile, and we might do that Google search for you. If we're not able to help you, we might just say, okay, we'll do that. We'll get that information and we'll just give it to you over the phone so that you can make direct contact with an organisation. We've also got, we can help in relation to debts. We've got debt advisors, and we've also got solicitors firms that's also able to help us if you've got any family law support that you need, or immigration advice, or if you need protection orders, like such as non-molestation orders, occupational orders, that type of thing. So yeah. Google is a brilliant machine.
Yeah. Thank you, Veronica. Yeah, so I mean, just for audience, Veronica, we are based in UK, so I know this video will be watched by people from all over the world. So you have to look at local services. But women in UK or England, I mean, I coach a lot of women in London or England based. People, I think three things you mentioned, Veronica, is people always ask for legal help, you know, what their option, what they can do. And sometimes people struggle with finances, how they're going to pay a solicitor fee. So we look at pro bono, or charity solicitor who can do free work as well. And people who have no mean to public funds, sometimes you could see immigration issue, or they can access public fund, how they could get support, you know. So there's quite a lot of issues that, you know, women who go through domestic violence has to deal with, and that's something I come across quite often when I'm coaching women. So you know, you mentioned about your number. Would you give out your number, or they just need to go into your website and look for it?
Yeah, I can give you the number. It's 0203 150 0171, or you can call us on 07538 620060. And if you just go to our website, you'll find that information there. You'll also find an email address, because some people are not able to call because of the circumstances that they're in, but they can email. But also, if you look on the website, I think at the bottom right hand side, you'll see a green thing that says, a green icon that says, I need help. And you'll get an instant response from that. If you click on it, there'll be somebody there that's going to be monitoring that chat, and there you can communicate with them in that way. And also, if you do go onto our website and you click on the exit button, no one will be any wiser that you were actually looking for support for domestic abuse and domestic violence.
Oh, thank you, Veronica. That's great. So you work with people from all over England or local based?
Right. So initially, we thought we were going to be just London based. So we said we were in London, but now we're national, but also just recently we're global as well.
Wow.
So yeah, we're expanding. Our borders are expanding, but it's subject to the demand, subject to the need. We don't turn people away, Parul. You know, it would contradict what we're all about, turning people away. And as I said, where our arms stop in terms of helping people, there's always an extension, and we're happy to work with those extensions, those other services, to ensure that anybody that reaches out that needs support around domestic or sexual violence and abuse, that we help them. And you can see I'm very passionate about it, very, very passionate about what we do, Parul. Very.
Yeah, no, I can see that from your expression and all the messages I read in, your social feed. Yeah, so if anybody specifically looking for advice on domestic violence or legal support, they can go via you to get legal support, right? You get access to solicitors, because that's something I found last whole year when I was, coaching people, that legal help, that's something lots of people struggle with, especially if they go issue with finances. So trying to get a solicitor who could do pro bono work, that's something comes quite often. So if they access your support, you should be able to direct them some places.
I don't want to give people false hope.
No, yeah.
Every situation, every individual case is assessed individually, and if we can support, we don't have a magic wand when it comes to immigration pro bono. However, we do have keys that open certain locks, but it depends on what your circumstances are. But yes, if we can help, we will help, and we will make other external referrals as well where we need to. But as I said, we don't have a magic wand or anything like that. I don't want to give people false hope. But yes, please make contact with us if we can help you. We do have access to some solicitors that will do pro bono work. So, and also in terms of immigrational status, those that are subject to domestic abuse, we've got contacts as well. Legitimate contacts, obviously, that we can ask to get support, get you the support that you need. Yeah.
Thank you, Veronica. Thanks for confirming that. Yeah. So come to my final question. Thank you for all the information. Yeah. If you were to leave one thoughts for people who lack self-confidence, what would that be, especially in regards to domestic violence and self-confidence?
I would say that regardless of the journey that you have been through, it's a comma. It isn't a full stop. It's a comma. It's a blip. It's a moment. But if you want more for yourself, reach out, get the help that you need to those that are willing to help you, regardless of what you've been through. There is so much more than what you've been through, as long as you have that determination to keep moving forward and to overcome the challenges of life. Your self-esteem will grow as you grow. So look for that help, look for that support. Find somebody that's willing to mentor you, that's willing to help you along this journey of life. That's what I would say.
Thank you, Veronica. That's really lovely. And everybody who's watching, I will put Veronica's company information and all the numbers on bottom of this video. So you will have you can click the website link as well. And also I'll put National Domestic Violence Helpline for UK. But if you're watching from other countries, please do Google your own country's help. There's always support available from your local authorities. So please do reach out if you are facing any issues. And if you want to message me directly, feel free to message me, below the video. And it's lovely talking to you, Veronica. And thanks for your time. We'll catch up soon. Thank you.
Thank you very much.